Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. I am the Chall, and today Chall chats St. Louis City. So this is the first of the St. Louis City previews. Obviously, it's probably a weird time to start the previews with it being this late into the MLS season. But today we're going to be previewing the upcoming game this weekend against Houston Dynamo over in Texas. Before we get started, though, I think I owe you guys an explanation as to why I sort of started following St. Louis City alongside my sort of home city club, Doncaster Rovers, here in the UK. So the reason why I chose St. Louis City in terms of an abroad club to keep an eye on and do some reports on is I saw the club when it was first announced as an expansion team. Obviously this year's its first year. I kept an eye on it in my own time, my private time, getting built up from the ground up and, seeing the stadium and, seeing it all come together. And then getting involved with the guys from Ball Watching, a St. Louis City podcast here on the channel, for this first campaign has been great. And I think it's just kind of turned into that one of those situations where it's like, you keep an eye on something and you sort of have this soft spot for it. So, alongside the Doncaster Rovers content, alongside the sports content, alongside the theme park content, we will be doing previews and reviews for St. Louis City. The reason why I'm doing previews for St. Louis City and not Doncaster Rovers is because with Doncaster Rovers, with that one, I'm not going to be at every single game. So, for me, I'm going to try and do some more Doncaster Rovers previews. I mean, I haven't done the previews all season for Rovers, so I might just leave that until next season and just put full focus into the St. Louis City previews and use the previews for St. Louis City games as a test or a teaser, as like a test and try method to go into next season's previews for Rovers, as well as St. Louis City. So I think that's probably going to be the plan. Previews and reviews. So long term, it'll be previews for St. Louis City and Doncaster Rovers, reviews for any and all games that we watch, either live on location or from home in the studio, alongside the others content around all the clubs as well. So we've got the Chall Chats Football League Weekly, we've got the theme park stuff going on as well. So there's a lot of content on the channel this year, and I think that this is kind of like a nice tester to do the Doncaster Rovers previews next season along with the match reviews. So before we get started, make sure you do like, comment, subscribe, click notification bell to each YouTube video. We are on the road to 3,000 subscribers. We are over the quarter of the way mark. Yeah, I nearly said 3/4 then. Over the quarter of the way mark. So we're getting there. We are definitely getting there. Like I said, I'm really excited about the direction of the channel, about where it's going to go, what we're going to do here on the channel, the type of content that we're going to produce here on the channel as well. Obviously, we made some massive announcements this week. We've got the trip to Alton Towers on the 26th of September. So stay tuned for a full trip report from Alton Towers Resort with off-ride footage. We're going to be sharing some bits about the rides. We'll bring you some stuff from the Project Horizon site, the Nemesis site. We're going to bring you all these different stuff. We've been confirmed to be going to Holker Street. The Chall Chats channel will be at Barrow at the 30th September. Whether we're filming a video there or not is still up in the air, so we'll give you more confirmation on that before the 30th September. Obviously, some big games coming up. The Champions League and the Europa League, the Europa Conference League, they are all starting up next week, so we'll hopefully have some content from the first week of those competitions. We'll also have more MLS content as we get into the playoff campaign very, very soon. So we've got plenty more from the regular season from St. Louis City. Obviously, we've got the rest of this calendar year for Doncaster Rovers and their 2023-2024 League 2 4th Division of English Football campaign. So we'll bring you more Doncaster Rovers content as well. And for now, guys, let's dive into the preview of St. Louis City as they travel to Houston Dynamo in this match in the regular season of the MLS. So we're going to kick off with some stats about Houston Dynamo just to give you a bit more of a statistical look at the squad that City are facing up against this week. And of course, the match will be on Sunday. Of course, here in the UK, it will be around 1:30 kickoff time on a Monday morning. So we will be watching it once the day draws open. And so I'm still debating whether to watch. I'm probably going to be watching it live anyway. But let's dive into the opponent, Houston Dynamo. So some stats for you going into this game. 39 points going into this one, which is pretty decent for Houston Dynamo. A 1.44 points per game with 7 games remaining of the season. That's pretty good. 2.23 points per game in home matches with a plus 18 goal difference. That is amazing. Their home record has been great. It's been a 3-1-1 in the last 5 home matches. 3 wins, 1 draw, 1 defeat. They need 6 points for playoffs, realistically. 12 points for home advantage in the playoffs in the MLS. So for me, looking at those stats there, first of all, those first opening stats, Houston, for me, are one of the sides that, in my opinion, are on track for those playoffs. I think they're one of the sides, in my opinion, that will reach the playoffs. They are 5th in the Western Conference, 11 wins, 10 losses and 6 draws, with a home record of 9-2-2 and away record of 2-8-4, 36 goals scored, 31 against, which is the 7th in the MLS, 11 clean sheets for goalkeeper Steve Clark. That is pretty good indeed. Now, of course, we are going to highlight a couple of standout players for each opponent, as well as the coach. So then, first of all, the couple of standout players. I have gone with Hector Herrera and Amin Bassi. Now, of course, there are others to keep an eye out for as well. Karaskila, Arta in the midfield. Some couple of nice names there. They signed a brand new player from the Polish division, Sebastian Kowalczyk. But the two I wanted to mention here was Amin Bassi and Hector Herrera. So first of all, let's talk about Bassi. Ex-Barnsley loanee, ex-Nancy and Metz player in the French second division, attacking player. He's a pretty good player. He's pretty direct. He's got some pace about him. He's got some skill level about him. He's not afraid to run at players. So he's got this kind of technicality about him that is quite unmatchable at times on his best day. But the main player, the main box-to-box, the main man in the midfield that's going to direct everything here is Hector Herrera. Ex-Porto, arrived from Atletico Madrid to Houston Dynamo, and Hector's just been a fantastic player. I mean, he's part of the tactics of that squad. You know, Houston like to do direct free kicks, set-piece goals, that kind of thing. Hector's on those free kicks, whipping them balls in. And, you know, Houston are a very dangerous side, especially at home. For me, I think Hector Herrera is one of the main keys of that. Steve Clark keeping all those clean sheets, Bassi in the attack as well. Corey Baird, former Real Salt Lake striker. So, you know, Houston Dynamo have these magnificent players, and they're definitely going to be on a roll going into this particular match. Obviously, going into this one, obviously, like I said, Houston will need at least 6 points to make the playoffs. Realistically, 12 to gain home advantage. For me, I think Houston's definitely on track to reach them playoffs, and they're one of the form sides that are going to probably reach the playoffs in the Western Conference by the end of this season. Like I said, 7 games to go in the regular season, and it is business time. It is crunch time. And then the playoffs kick in. So for Houston, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens here. Now, of course, their head coach, the head coach of Houston Dynamo, Ben Holson, of course, ex-DC United head coach for 10 years between 2010 and 2020. If you want a bit of information about how his team would play, or how I expect them to play, looking at some highlights from Houston Dynamo in recent matches, I'm looking here at probably a 4-3-3. They'll keep a bit of a stranglehold and a comfortability in possession. They're going to try and protect their lead when needed. They're going to have a real lockdown mentality in terms of their defensive structure. They're going to play quite comfortable. They're going to go for it in terms of trying to attack. So I would expect a team that will be tenacious, that are going to be strong on the ball. I'm expecting a team that's going to look for those pockets of space and those gaps and thread the balls through. They're really good on through balls. So I think that Houston Dynamo, for me, will be a very tricky opposition for City, especially with the home form going into this. Like I say, Houston's one of the kind of form sides, for me, with home records going into this game. And, you know, Houston have been, you know, they look a really good side. I think Hector Herrera is going to be, you know, definitely. I mean, I agree with the guys from Ball Watching a St. Louis City podcast. I think that Hector Herrera is an MVP contender for this season. I think that he's been fantastic this season. So Houston Dynamo, for me, is going to be very tricky for St. Louis City. Now, what about the St. Louis City side of it? Well, let's go into my St. Louis City side of it, what I could take from the LA Galaxy game the previous week, and also what I think the score will be in Houston, Texas. So St. Louis City then, what do I expect from them? Well, of course, LA Galaxy, that game was an interesting one. Like I said in the LA Galaxy review, the first half, St. Louis City had the energy about them, they had the win about them, they pounced on poor mistakes. But the second half, the energy levels, as has happened in away games in the past with City, the energy levels have just fizzled, they dropped. And, when you've got someone, when LA Galaxy's got someone like Billy Sharp, who's a real fox in the box, and, Liam on the breakdown show, I think it was on Lower League Look on Thursday, saying that Donny Rovers put all the eggs in one basket with Billy Sharp. To be honest with you, I kind of disagree with that. Obviously, for those of you who don't know, I support Doncaster Rovers, and there were rumours and links that would be linked to Billy Sharp. Don't know what the truth is in that situation, but I don't know. For me, I still think, I'm probably straying off course here, but from Doncaster Rovers' point of view, I still think Ironside's going to come good. I still think Fal's quite raw and got potential. If you do want to stick around for those reviews, then check out the Doncaster Rovers videos. But going back to City, when you're dealing with someone like Billy Sharp, who's a fox in the box, he knows where the back of the net is, a clinical finisher, he's that kind of clinical final third product that you need. You've got it. You've got it there. And when your energy levels are an all-time low in the second half, and your energy levels start to dip, it just becomes impossible to deal with someone in the right area at the right time at many a time, especially when the marking's quite poor. So LA Galaxy, for me, deserved at least a draw, probably a win out of that game after the second half performance against City. So what does St. Louis City need to do, and how do I see them setting up in this game? How do I want them to set up in this game? I'd stick with the same keeper, stick with the same starting back four. I'd go with the Parker-Nilsson combo. I'd have Nom in the midfield in that kind of partnership in the LA Galaxy game that it was. Obviously, it will look like a 4-2-2-2 at times, so I think that, Stroud and AZ, I'd like to see them together. Obviously, Sam Adeniran was sent off in that game, so we are going to need to switch up at least one player in that side. For me, if he's fit enough, there's only one player you put on, and that's Nicolo Gio Chirini. Put him up front next to Klaus, so you play, or as the St. Louis guys said at ball watching, 4-2-3-1. Gio behind in the attacking midfield role, supporting Klaus as the up front number 9 solo striker. So you either go 4-4-2, you go 4-2-3-1. You could adapt it maybe. It's kind of like a 4-2-3-1. But it might not be as wide as maybe people think. Obviously, you've got AZ, you've got Stroud. They can expand out wide and utilise that wide front, but you could set them up as attacking midfielders on the right and left side respectively. And in between them, you've got this central attacking midfielder, so you've got the potential there to operate a more narrower 4-2-3-1, but those wide attacking midfielders can expand out of their position and free roam those kind of wide flanks up in the attacking third. So I think there's potential to do that, so you've got plenty of varieties to go with here. For me, you'd go with Gio Chirini if he's fit. Gio Chirini, I think that obviously it's sad seeing Sam getting sent off in that LA Galaxy game, but the second challenge was no argument or anything from me. It was definitely a card. For me, it's going to be interesting to see how City line up. So for me, I'd go with Berkey and goal. I'd go with the same back four as Galaxy. I'd go with the same midfield two as Galaxy. I'd have Stroud and AZ as well. And then I'd bring in Gio Chirini and have Klaus up front, either alongside him or as the number 1 with Gio behind Joao Klaus. So then, what's my prediction for this game? St. Louis City, like I said, they fizzled out in previous games. I think what City need to do here is they need to lock down a lead, keep it under wraps. We know that Houston could have a discipline problem. There is that kind of tenacity and that kind of urgency for the St. Louis fans to say to their players, look, just leave a couple of nudges on them, see what they do. And, there is that discipline issue that could play into the mind games of the match. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens there from a discipline point of view, from a mind games perspective. But for me, if they can lock down a lead, I'm going to go with a 2-1 win for St. Louis. But we cannot take away that Houston home record. My prediction overall will be Houston Dynamo 1, St. Louis City 1. I think St. Louis have come to play. I think they're going to learn from mistakes from previous second half performances, especially the one the previous week against LA Galaxy over in California. And I think that Houston, despite having a protective home record at the moment, I think it's going to be a draw this time. I think St. Louis will be a hard team, especially being top of the Western Conference as well against 5th in the Western Conference. You know, it's going to be very interesting indeed. So there we go, guys. Thank you very, very much for watching this video. I'm not too sure if Houston are 5th. Comment down below if they are, but I swear I thought Houston were 5th. But there we go, guys. Thank you very, very much for watching this video. Make sure you do like, comment, subscribe. And for now, I am the CHALL. Ta-ra for now. Stay tuned for the review at the start of next week.